Welcome to Reading as Fundamentals webinar. Every book is a social justice book. Everyone is muted for the presentation. If you have any questions, please direct them into the question box on your Zoom webinar control panel. We will be answering as many of the questions as we can at the end during the Q&A. Any questions we can't get to during the presentation, we will follow up with answers in an email. Please note that this webinar is being recorded, and we will make a link with the recording available to all of you after the broadcast, as well as a copy of this presentation. In addition, you will receive a certificate of completion in the follow-up email. We are thrilled to have you join us today. My name is Erin Bailey, and I'm RIF's Director of Programs and Content. I will be guiding the presentation today. RIF was founded in 1966 and is the leading voice for children's literacy. We partner with a grassroots network of 1 million volunteers and communities nationwide to distribute more than 422 million books to more than 100 million children. For more than 50 years, we've been providing quality content to make an impact and engage communities in promoting a lifelong love of reading among children. RIF is committed to a literate America and believes every child deserves an opportunity to own books, learn how to read, and obtain the fundamental building blocks to achieve their highest potential. So this evening's webinar is an interactive style. We'll be using Padlet to ask you questions during the webinar. There are two ways that you can access Padlet. You can either scan the QR code on your screen or check the chat box for the link to the Padlet. We will also be dropping links in the chat throughout the presentation with all of the resources mentioned throughout this webinar. During this webinar, you can see we'll cover why we use children's literature to teach social justice, how to use literature, and we'll even try it out. I'm very pleased to introduce our presenter this evening. Daris McInnis is an assistant professor of literacy at Westchester University, and his research interests include family literacy, critical literacy, racial literacy, and early childhood education. He is also a doctoral candidate in the Reading Writing Literacy program at Penn Graduate School of Education. His dissertation focuses on K-12 learning interruptions and uplifting family literacy practices. Prior to teaching in grad school in Pennsylvania, Daris taught pre-K and early elementary grades in Washington, D.C. He was an education pioneer in New Orleans, an American Corps alum, and he has also volunteered as a teacher at an orphanage in Nairobi, Kenya. Daris is also a Pat Tillman Scholar and served 5 years as a commissioned officer in active duty in the United States Army. Daris is currently a member of RIF's Middle School Family Literacy Advisory Board. I am so pleased to welcome and introduce my dear friend, Daris.
Thank you so much. Erin, is my volume okay?
Yes.
Fantastic. I first want to say a huge thank you to Erin and to RIF for considering me and for inviting me to talk with you all about this very important work. And I also want to thank all of you who are attending. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you are here with us, and we are so thankful. And we're going to go ahead and dive right in. For this, so I'm an early childhood teacher at heart, and I believe in the power of inquiry. And so asking questions and getting others' thoughts really helps to bring us all to this conversation where we honor each other's epistemologies, ideas, thoughts, feelings, and even some counter questions. And so I wanted to take a moment before we even begin, and I want you to think about what comes to mind when you see the term social justice, or even if you hear the term, whether it be in conversation, at a PD, with a news brief, a podcast, anything. What comes to mind when you hear the term social justice? I am going to drop the link to the Padlet in the chat. Give me just a second. Let's stop sharing here. Oh, thanks, Erin.
Yes,
Erin's got it.
I will drop links.
Thank you. I was going to say, I know that the pandemic has made us all like a DJ, right? You know, we're doing like 65 things at once, but it's great that Erin is on top of it. So I'll go ahead and share my screen again so you all can see the QR code because I did exit out of that. So you can either click on the link in the chat or I'm going to share my screen again. So we'll, hold on just a second. So bear with the brother, please. You can either scan this QR code or you can visit the link in the chat. I'll give you all, take about 90 seconds. What comes to mind when you see the term social justice? For those of you who just joined, Aaron just redropped the Padlet. So it's right in the links in the chat. So I'm going to stop sharing and then go to the Padlet so we can see what folks are thinking about or what comes to mind when they see social justice. So I'm going to share my screen. So I'm just going to randomly call out some of the things that I'm seeing from the attendees. And I first want to thank you all for engaging this work with me. I do want to make sure that we make this inclusive and that we're honoring all of the participants. And most of all, we want to be interactive because I don't want to be the only person whose voice is foregrounded here. Equity, inclusion, empowering, lifting all voices, Black Lives Matter, partnerships, inclusion, work to be done in equality, inquiry, power, dynamics, all of this. Helpful. I feel like the term social justice has become so co-opted. It's an industry in a lot of ways where people are doing work. And if I pause, it's just because these are moving all over the screen. It's an industry in a lot of ways where people doing work in the broad area don't actually want liberation for oppressed people. It's not a helpful term for me. That is fair. Thank you for that honesty. Yeah, a lot of things have become buzzwords lately, right? We have some other thoughts. The community coming together to stand up for what is right, uplifting the most vulnerable. See this beautiful tree here. To me, social justice starts with an understanding of people. Consider others to you. They may not look like you, act like you, live like you. Scroll down. It's moving all over the screen. Love like you, etc. But they're still the people who make up the world around you. Social justice is accepting others and fighting for their rights if or when you see them trampled. Preach, preach, preach. Intersecting issues. Equity, equality, fairness. Yes, yes. Just systems. Honoring and respecting one another. Tyree Nichols. The end of systemic racism. Struggle for fairness and human rights. Preach, preach. Achieving equity in education. Yes, yes, it is all of these things. It is all of these things. And I could draw on the works of the teachers and the scholars and the families and the people who talk about this in their practice, in their life, in their day-to-day works. And for me personally, Gloria Ladson Billings, Goli Muhammad, David Kirkland, Bettina Love, Prudence Carter, Imani Perry. I mean, I really could go on forever, right? But So I do want to touch on the ways in which we might think about how to have conversations with youth about social justice, particularly with the issues in which we contend on a daily basis that may affect us or those that may not, right? So from racial injustice to police brutality, to voter suppression, to climate justice, to income inequality, homelessness, gun violence, food insecurity, gender-based discrimination, anti-queer discrimination, anti-trans discrimination, all of these issues, right? All of these things. I want to turn our attention to considering how, well, one of the most appropriate ways and engaging ways to highlight these issues with children, and then particularly for the teachers who are here, how to do this with books and our students. There's so many more that are coming in, and I only have you brilliant folks for an hour. So I'm going to go ahead and proceed on because I do want to get to I'm going to do a read aloud, and then I do want to make time for us to do some Q&A at the end. But I thank you all for engaging on the Padlet and thinking about this work. You all are phenomenal, and I'm just like been writing things down as we go along. So give me just a second so I can get back to my slides here. We're going to continue on. I appreciate you all, and then we'll have another Padlet for you all to populate. So I wanted to come back to talking about books, right? Because why is this important? You know, these issues are not new and they've been long-standing, right? But what does that mean for us as educators, as scholars, as caretakers, and people who care about children? So firstly, I want us to understand that if you look back at that Padlet, right? So we just saw people who are able to name these issues, both with quickness and also with specificity, right? We live in the world, right? And so we see these issues and we know that they exist. And as adults, you know, what do? Some folks, they get involved with grassroots organizations. Some of us participate in protests. Some of us, we use our voter education and civic engagement to elevate the visibility of these issues. And then some of us even have book clubs where we unpack these issues with dialogue and reflection in the hopes of getting us out of these book clubs, right? To put this dialogue and reflection into action. And so these are all things that we do as adults because we've had the opportunity to think deeply about these issues and how we might use our talents and labor to address these issues. And we all come to this work from various perspectives and various ways. And frankly, we were not always adults, right? Some of us have recognized and thought about these issues even as children, some of which have happened because of our identities, and we had no choice but to navigate these issues, you know, for survival. Some of us come to the work of social justice later on in life. Some become activists, some become nonprofit organizers, some become teachers. But for the purpose of this webinar, I want us to focus on the ways in which educators might want to consider using these books, these stories, and this literature to raise the visibility of these issues, and specifically to think about how we have conversations with children, because they too will one day to grow to be organizers, to be teachers, to start grassroots organizations and to elevate these issues, because my prediction is that we won't see the end of them anytime soon. And it is up to us to continue to raise these issues, to fight for those who are often subjugated, oppressed, and made to be invisible by those in power. And with this, in schools, for those of you who are teachers, you know this already. And even for those of you who have kids, we often have read alouds at home or in the classroom. And so children might read books with their families, you know, for leisure or before bed, you know, and books are everywhere. And so I want us to recognize that there are many other ways to think about the work of doing this, and specifically to focus on the ways in which every book we read is actually a social justice book. I don't know if in the chat, Aaron has already put some resources there. Great, great, there we go. So we have two books. One is Lubea's Quiet Roar, and the other one is sorry, I have to move this out the way. We Are Water Protectors. And so these are just a few of the resources that RIF has. We put them there just to sort of like to think about the ways in which not just RIF can help us think about how we uplift and uptake these issues, but how we can do this beyond the classroom and thinking about how we help kids recognize these issues. And I'm assuming that those of you who are on this webinar, you all know children, you have children, or you work with children in some capacity. So I want you, I can't see everyone, but I'm hoping that you'll participate with me. How many of you have ever heard a child say to you, "That's not fair"? Right? I taught preschool, pre-K, kindergarten. I heard this all the time, right? "That's not fair. Mr. M, that's not fair." It happens all the time, right? And though the context of fairness itself may vary, I want us to pause for a moment and think about what the word means, okay? And how children internalize the word fair. Because even at a young age, children recognize that people and or situations, right, are not always treated the same. And when they say that's not fair, this is evidence that they're calling out what is or isn't fair. And this is a way to bring, this to the attention of others. It may be shouted, right? It may be accompanied by choice words, right? But thinking about saying something is fair or not, right? It is an evaluation of something, okay? And so how do we make things fair? How do we make it equal? How do we make it equitable, right? And to ensure that everyone has the same chances and opportunities that are provided to others. How do we ensure that everyone is treated with love and dignity and respect? And this is where we think about justice, right? Because if fairness is people being equal, right? Justice is a vehicle and a way in which we can ensure that that happens. And for us and for the folks who are on this call, social justice can be a way where we help children think of how do we use justice to ensure that others live a fair and just life. Social justice work, it is incredibly complex. Children of all ages are brilliant and they're complex themselves. And as I mentioned before, and if you, even as we as adults can go on a Padlet and we can identify these issues and we can define what social justice means to us so quickly, right? Certainly you have to know that we're not the only ones who recognize that fairness and equity are not given to all. And social justice helps us to ensure that as human beings, our planet and everyone who is on the planet, right, should be and deserves to be treated with dignity and respect and fairness. And this can be done with justice. And books can help us talk about the ways in which these issues that children, they're also aware of, right? How they help us think about an appropriate and engaging way to have these conversations with kids. So whether that is a child talking about, or excuse me, so whether that is reading a book with kids who can recognize in their neighborhood, right, that they can see segregation, or if they're sitting with their parents and their parents are listening to NPR and they hear something about what happened to Tyree Nichols, right? These issues are present and they're around. And so books are one way, right? It's not the only way, but books are one way for us to point this out to kids and have some conversations with kids. If you look in the chat here, oh, fantastic. I can finally see the chat. Thank you, Teresa. Thank you, Wendy. Y'all got to bear with me. I'm still trying to navigate these Zoom waters. And I do want to also just point out, oh, thank you, Aaron. Can you all hear me now? Okay, thank you. I'm sorry about that. I just kind of want to talk a little bit about a story from pre-K that I read a book called Grace for President in my preschool room. And it was right around the 2016 election. And later that day at recess, I had a conversation with a student who came up to me and, she rarely ever spoke in class. She rarely ever said anything. But for this particular read aloud, I think it spoke to something that she noticed as a 3-year-old, right? She came up to me during recess and said, "Mr. McInnis, it was so messed up that, even though Grace became the president, I've noticed we've never had a girl as the president of the United States." And we had a conversation about that, right? Like why she felt that way, why she felt like she'd never seen, in her mind, girls or women in power. And though she didn't name gender bias specifically, right, she was able to talk about fairness in a way that was appropriate for her with the read aloud and how she considered the ways in which women and girls are not provided opportunities in ways that men are, right? Because girls and women may not be seen as competent, as strong, right, as brilliant as we know them to be. Thank you, Aaron. And so the links in the chat here are all some links for some resources from RIF, from a list of the books that we had on the previous slide. And as I mentioned before, there are many, many ways to teach this to children. For teachers, for us, we have lesson plans, and with books, this is one way to do that. And then going back to the why we teach, right, and why we talk about these issues in school, standards and domains, they help us think through these ideas and the purpose that they serve with each of our lessons, with each read aloud in the classroom, and why we choose these things. And also, typically schools and instructional teams, they might encourage us to reference and draw on some standards to do this in a meaningful way. So Learning for Justice is a project of the Southern Poverty Law Center, and there they have different frameworks that are great. They're great resources for educators, for parents, for caregivers. And one of which of these is a set of standards that you all can see on the screen, and they're appropriately called social justice standards. And they're divided into 4 domains: identity, diversity, justice, and action. And in each of these domains, they have outcomes associated with anti-bias education, and it's organized by grade bands. So it's K through 2, 3 to 5, 6 to 8, and then from 9 to 12. And also, we also wanted to note that for teachers and pre-service teachers who want to think about how this ties into the Common Core, we also want to address the fact that some people receive some pushback about not including these and not being able to tie these into the Common Core if they do some read alouds based on justice. And so for those of you who are not familiar with the Common Core, if you see R, this is the strand of the Common Core that is, it's based on reading. The CC is the Common Core, and then you have the numbers here, right? And so the numbers are associated with the grade level as they're assessed. And so even in these, the anchor standards for the Common Core, you can see that we can consider this work in assessing how closely our students engage with the text and how they identify supporting details in relation to an issue or theme. When we think about the craft moves in the classroom, so I'm looking at all you folks who do work with writing workshop, you can consider the ways in which authors use words and genres and tone in stories or history, or even how we consider the ways in which students evaluate an argument in the text. And then for those of you who use the questioning as an author technique to think about comprehension, this might be a way for students to recall seeing themes or issues in a text or from a podcast or even from other media. And so we bring this up because there are many, many ways to connect this work to practice. And then back to the point that that I talked about before, regardless of the framework that you use, regardless of the standards that you're connected to or that you're considering for your work, every book is a social justice book. So how exactly do we do this? It would take another 25 webinars to even begin to unpack all of this with fidelity. But for the purpose of this webinar, we've identified 3 considerations for how we might do this work. The first is be mindful of what your students are talking and thinking about, right? Visiting with them in the classroom, having conversations about what they see in their lives, and then being open to them asking you some questions about how you feel. 2, explain to your students, why you choose a book in a classroom. Ask them why these issues matter and, enjoy the read aloud experience together. And then 3, build on the story with post-reading activities, right? Trust in their genius, trust in their ideas, trust in their dreams to change the world. They are, and just speaking from the experience of a person who's worked with young children, they really are some of the most brilliant people I've been privileged to work with, right? So whether you're reading about the ways in which Ida B. Wells was instrumental in leading, anti-lynching and abolition efforts, or why Malala received the Nobel Peace Prize, for fighting for girls' education, I want you to think and consider the ways in which we see people marching. We see these viral moments, right, of videos from Memphis, these issues that permeate and affect us, and issues that we contend with every single day. Please know that not only are our children seeing us and seeing these issues, right, they may also face these issues themselves. And if you don't believe me, ask a parent of a Black child about the conversations that they have with them about interactions with people in power. Think about that. And so thinking about all these different issues that we named, we talked about, we saw from the palette, I do want to do a really quick demonstration, and I am praying and hoping that you all will be able to see the illustrations because I actually have to hold the book up. And I do want to mention that this book is read with permission from the publisher, from Lee and Low. And so I do want to thank them as well. And I'm going to show you the book here, and there's also a copy of the cover of the book on the screen. This is called A Shelter in Our Car by Monica Gunning, and it is illustrated by Elaine Pedlar. This is recommended for kids who are between the ages of 6 to 9, but I believe that books are for everyone, regardless of age. I'm going to show you all the cover.
Hey, Daris, do you mind stop sharing the screen so we can get you bigger?
Yes, see.
Thank you.
This is why Aaron is here. Why Aaron is here, y'all.
And everyone, the Padlet link is in the chat for this book too.
So you all can see this. Police cars are coming closer. The sirens hurt my ears and the lights blind my eyes. I jump up, really, really frightened. Shh, steady, lie down, says Mama. We don't want to be noticed. We sink between the clothes on the back seat of the car. Mama, it's creepy sleeping in our car, I whisper. I know, she says. Things happen in the city. Police cars are always on some kind of chase. She holds me until the sirens stop. When all is quiet, Mama drives down Chandler Avenue and parks in front of a courtyard apartment house. Its garden is filled with flowers, bougainvilleas, roses, hibiscus. In the streetlight, their colors are as bright as the flowers in the yard we left behind in Port Antonio. Mom and I love parking in this spot. For weeks, a for rent sign has hung in one of the windows. We asked about it last week, but the owner told us he'd only rent to someone with a steady job, and he wants the first and last month's rent, which Mama doesn't have. I close my eyes. Soon as I'm in dreamland, back home in Jamaica with Papa and Grandma Mullins. We're picnicking on the beach. Waves pound against the rocks, crash, bang. I wake up. No, I'm not in Jamaica. I'm in America. And it's not the waves crashing against rocks. Someone's knocking on our car window. A flashlight glares in our eyes. What are you doing here, lady? A policeman asks sternly. My little girl and I are only stopping for the night, sir. No overnight parking here, he growls. Get moving. I will, sir. But we're not doing anything wrong, she says. She gets into the front seat and drives away. Tears roll down her cheeks like they did when Papa died. I lean over and stroke her locks. Mama, why don't we go by Magnolia Avenue, over near the park? There, the police don't even bother Mr. Williams when he sleeps on the bench. That's my girl. I forgot about that place. She parks the car on Magnolia Avenue. We settle down, and soon I'm asleep in her arms. Early next morning, Mama wakes me up and reminds me, let's use the restroom in the park before it gets crowded. It's chilly there, and I shiver as I put on my school clothes. Then I splash water on my face from the faucet. Mama, this water is cold as ice. Try to be brave, she whispers. We go outside and sit down on the bench. Mama braids my hair in 4 plaits, the way I like it, but she pulls hard to make it look just right. I start singing a song I made up, trying not to notice when she yanks too hard. For a while, Mama hums along, but when I sing louder, she puts a finger on her lips. Not so loud. You'll wake Mr. Williams. Mama opens our little ice chest and makes peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. We drink some leftover orange soda. It's sweet, but flat. We've had it for 3 days. I wish we had some hot chocolate, I say. The kind you used to make from cocoa beans we picked in your home. It makes me sad that you don't have some. She looks into my eyes. Do you remember the sun in Jamaica? She asks. How brightly it shone after a shower of rain? I do remember, especially on cold, cloudy days like today. Why did Papa have to die? With Mama's now and then day jobs and her working so hard going to community college, it's like having dark, wet days all the time. When I get a steady job, there'll be sunshine again, she says, as if she read my mind. I'm silent. I hear that from Mama all the time, but things are so hard now. On the way to school, I say, Mama, what is it? Could you drop me off at the corner behind the school? Why? She asks. Mean boys say our car is old and junky. They make fun of the flag in the window. Why do you have to keep it there? I snap. She pulls over, hugs me. Pay them no mind, my child. Get your book learning, just like your papa did, and hold your head high. I'll take down the flag. I hurry out of the car to get away. I'll wait for you on the playground after school, I call out over my shoulder. Now, normally I would probably ask some questions about the pictures that you see, but I only have y'all for an hour. But thank you for still being here. Mama picks me up after school. I duck my head into my jacket so no one will recognize me as I scurry into the car. There were no office jobs at the temporary agency, she tells me. Does that mean we'll eat peanut butter and jelly sandwiches again tonight? I grumble and turn my whole body away from her. No, I did something else though. Guess what? I don't care, I say. We'll never get an apartment if you don't get a steady job. I handed out flyers at a health fair. Didn't make that much money, but I have enough to buy some supper and some gas for the car. My face feels hot and my chest is tight. Why can't mama do some other kind of work? My tummy growls. I began to, excuse me, I begin to forget about being angry. Can we get hot dogs and buns to share with Anime and Benji at the park? When we arrive, Benji runs up to me. He's 8, just like I am, but small and bony. Mama makes all us some dinner. His eyes shine when he sees the hot dogs, and I wonder if he's eaten anything today. Want to come with me to look for empty cars and bottles to sell? He asks me. I don't know, I say. Mama watches me closely and doesn't like my rummaging around. Benji is saving money from the cans and bottles as well. He's doing this to help his mother. He already has $1.50. Stay where I can see you and be careful, she calls. Benji runs around and between the trees looking for thrown away bottles and cans. He starts to dig into the garbage cans to find some, but I tell him that that's dangerous, that he can't tell what it might be inside, and he stops. We're happy with this pile today. He'll probably make another $1. You're my best friend, he tells me as he waves goodbye. You are mine too, I say. That night, Mama and I curl up on the back seat of the car, and she reads to me from a book we got from the library. Sleeping in the car is better than at the church shelter, I tell Mama. I hated that noisy, crowded place. A baby cried the whole time, remember? That's why I'd rather us use our car as a shelter, Betty, she answers. I snuggle beside her and she begins to study for one of her exams. The next day after school, I read my book as I wait for Mama on the playground. Just as I turn the page, Alex the bully sneaks up behind me and yanks my plaid. Junk Carzetti, he teases. Watch out for Junk Carzetti, he calls to his friends. They all laugh and yell it out real loud. Junk Carzetti, Junk Carzetti. Dumbbells, I snap at the boys. That makes them really angry. Alex pulls my plaits again hard. I'm scared now. Not a teacher around anywhere. What should I do? Finally, I run faster than I ever thought I could run. Away from the playground, down the street to a far corner. Now they can't see me. Whew, I'm out of breath and panting. When I see Mama drive up to the next school gate, she gets out of the car to look for me. Mama, Mama, I call, waving to get her attention, but she doesn't see me. She gets back into the car and turns around. I shout louder and louder and run toward her, but I trip as she drives away. My knee is skinned and bleeding. I put some spit on it and hobble back to the corner. Then I sit down and cry. Our lives have changed so much since Papa died. I wait for a while, my eyes still on the playground, but Mama doesn't return. Where did Mama go? Knowing that she's out looking for me only makes me cry harder. I open my eyes to the whir of a motorcycle stopping. It's a policeman. Am I in trouble? He asks. Are you lost? No, sir. My mama is late picking me up. I can't leave you here alone, he says. He sounds kind. He stays close to watch me, but not too close. I didn't know a policeman could be so nice. I thought they were all mean, like that one who shouted at Mama and made her cry that night. It seems like forever that I wait. I only have Mama now. I think, where is she? What will happen to me if anything happens to her? Will the policeman have to place me in a foster home? Living in a car isn't the best thing in the world, but at least I have Mama who loves me and takes care of me. Then I hear a car honking. It's Mama. Tears spatter her face. She cries, "Why did you leave the playground, Zeddy? Why?" Sobbing, I tell her what happened. "I was scared, Mama. That's why I ran down here." "I thought you went to the park," she continues. "Benji and Anime helped me look for you. We were all so worried. Thank goodness you're safe." She waves to the policeman to let him know everything's okay. Between tears, I force a smile, happy that Mama's with me again. Her eyes are still red. I can tell she was crying a lot, worrying about me. She puts her arm around me. "We both need to relax tonight," she says. "I worked a long day at the health fair again, and they pay me for more hours. Let's celebrate this evening." We drive to a cafeteria for spaghetti and ice cream. After summer, Mama winks. "Surprise! We'll sleep in a real bed tonight." "In a motel? That really comfort one? Excuse me. The really comfy one we slept in the last time?" I cry out. Soon as we check into our room, I dash. Go inside the bathroom and turn on the shower. The water trickles down my back. Oh, Mama, warm water feels so good. I wish I could have a shower every day. When I jump into bed, I stretch out, wiggle my toes, and bring the clean sheet up to my nose. Mama hugs me and calls me Buttercup, and I can feel her love washing over me. "How would you like to sleep in a bed all summer instead of in our car?" she asked. At the health fair, the woman that offered me, excuse me, at the health fair, the woman there offered me a job. "I'm going to help in a program for people like us, people who work hard to find homes. We'll be able to afford a room," she explains. "Oh, Mama, will you be able to save for that courtyard apartment while you work there and study too?" "I hope so," she says and hugs me tighter. I nestle in her arms. "Mama, I'm sorry for being mean sometimes." Then I snuggle closer and fall asleep, knowing that with or without an apartment, I've got Mama and she's got me. The end. If you all look in the chat, there's a Padlet. And on that Padlet, I have a few questions. One, what social justice issue was covered in the story? And the second one, how could you use this story for a discussion, activity, or project? And I'm going to read a few of the responses. Thank you, Aaron. So some of the issues here: abandonment, safety, bullying, housing and food insecurity, immigration, racism, poverty, lack of legal documentation, poverty, homelessness, food insecurity, houselessness, police relations, housing insecurity, racism, safety. Look at all these. And then a discussion, or rather, thinking about how we use this for either in the classroom or with our kids. So many great ideas here. Someone said, we can have this book as a mirror. We have these students. Amen. Yes, yes, preach. Someone else said a discussion about the importance of family and resilience, grade-wide or school-wide fundraiser and awareness campaign for food security at a local food pantry. Yes, yes, yes. And we have a say and ask. Say, think of your answers to these questions in your head. Ask, has there ever been a time in your life where you don't have, oh, sorry, these are moving. You don't have a home to live in. Has there ever been a time in your life where uh, sorry, move this up, where you struggle to find or buy fresh fruits and vegetables at the grocery store, right? Because food deserts are real. Many of us and our students are in them. Have you ever known anyone that had one or more of these issues? Absolutely. And then for the lesson, I would create and plan out a lesson that talks about statistics appropriate for the grade level I'm teaching, a testimonial from, sorry, I'll use that movie, a testimonial from a child who experienced homelessness and an adult who experienced homelessness. And I would show a clip from the movie, The Pursuit of Happiness, where Will Smith goes to the homeless shelter for the first time. Yes, 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 yes. Informed action, draw the flag that defines you and your people. Why did you choose these colors and designs? Yes, yes, yes. Going back to the flag that Mama had in her window, list or draw. Wow, see this? See this? I didn't even have to offer any. Look at all these examples in the chat or on the Padlet. Right? Every book is a social justice book. I'm going to stop sharing the Padlet for just a moment. I'm going to return to my slides here. And so thinking about how all of the things that we named in the beginning of this presentation, right? From the original Padlet where we named social justice issues and talked about what comes to mind when we see this, right? We looked at a framework, we looked at some standards, we had some dialogue and or some thoughts from the read aloud onto the Padlet. All of this, right? Thinking about, and this is just one, right? Just for food insecurity, uh, police relations, homelessness, things that people face every single day, things that our kids are facing. Our kids experience these issues. They deal with these issues. And not just the issues head on, but the issues that are caused by these issues, right? The bullying that happens when you are dressed in clothes that don't look as clean as others, right? And you don't look well kept. So I always ask people who say to me, I don't believe that kids can have these conversations, right? And I say to them, they're having these conversations because many of them experience these things themselves. And so how do we take this work with us, right? In our classrooms, in our read alouds, in our interactions with our students? How do we build them up, right? Because the reality is they're our future. They're the ones who are going to grow up and navigate this world as our leaders, nonprofit organizers, grassroots organizers, right? And I want you to think about everything that we talked about today. What did you learn? How has your thinking changed? How will you use this with your children? Do you have any books to recommend to others? Aaron is, thank you. Is in the Padlet. I'll look over a few of these responses and then we'll have a few minutes for Q&A. Let me stop sharing the slides. And then go back to the reflection. Very anxious to see some recommendations from folks on the Padlet. Any books you think will be relevant for thinking about how to teach social justice to our little ones? Martin's Big Words. Have here, follow the teacher on Insta. I'm gonna do that now. Or rather, I'll do it after this. I See You, My Two Border Towns, Esperanza Rising. I learned that social justice is subjective to your own experiences and knowledge on a given subject, that young students can understand tough topics. Adults are not the only ones who recognize injustice, preach. The contributions of the activities and ways to discuss these books are so informative and helpful. I realized about the need to turn into action, not just about reading about it in class. Exactly, right? We saw there was a person on a previous panel who suggested that you can do a trip to a food pantry. You can, raise money at a school. We have a few more people who share something they learned. There are many books available to teach social justice at a child's level. Absolutely. We have tons of recommendations here, y'all. I definitely recommend that you save this palette, this suitcase. Say something. Still a family. Thank you, Mr. Falker. Yes, yes. Really hope I don't mess this up. The Moon from Derridon. A Story of the Partition of India. Wow. Wow. My Shadow is Pink. New from here. We have socialjusticebooks.org, Chinese Cinderella, More Than Peach. And I'll end with highlighting a few things about how people's thinking has changed. I realized the need to turn into action. I think I said that earlier. Feel affirmed in starting social justice conversations with preschool age children. Love starting with what they see and know and want to change, drawn on their impulse for fairness. Yes, yes, yes. I need to incorporate more social justice books into my teaching. Yes, yes, yes. And sometimes even books that we read, it may not necessarily have a theme solely based on social justice, but there are books that we read every day with some of these elements in them, right? But it's also, but it's up to us to think deeply about these issues. Look at the whole person and not the half person. Sharing this palette idea with my pre-service teachers. And I'll end with, no matter where you come from or what you have, you are important as well. And
Thank you so much, Daris, on behalf of Reading is Fundamental, but truly from myself, from the bottom of my heart, for doing this important webinar for us this evening. I hope that everyone who attended enjoyed it. As a reminder, you will receive a recording as well as a copy of the presentation slides with all of the links to books referenced throughout this. If you check out Literacy Central, that's where you can find teachers' guides, vocabulary resources, and beyond that go along with these books. We have just a few minutes for questions and answers. So if you have any questions, we'd like to direct you to submit them via the question box now. As a reminder, any questions we cannot get to today, we will answer in a follow-up email. And I see a lot of really great feedback in the comments. Thank you all so much.
thank you, Carrie. Thank you, LaShanta. Thank you, Sadia. Oh, my friend is here. Thank you, Hakima. Thank you, Samantha. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you, Rhiannon. Oh my goodness, the other friends are here. Wow. Wow. Oh my goodness. Thank you, Kathy. Thank you, Maria. Thank you, Holly. Thank you, Sherry. Wow. My people are here. Thank you, Emily. Thank you, Marceline. Thank you, Cindy. Thank you, Meg. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Katie. Thank you, Maria. Thank you, Teresa. Thank you, Cloyette. Thank you, Stevie. Thank you for your time. I appreciate you all being here. Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Erica. Thank you, Vivian. Thank you, Nia. I hope I'm saying your name right. Thank you, Barb.
Oh, there's a great question if Padlet responses will be shared in the email. I don't know if I'm able to do that, but when you click on the slide links, the Padlet links will be in there, so you can go back to the Padlet, keep the conversation going.
Thank you, Hannah. Thank you, Quinn. Thank you, Donna. Thank you, Vanessa. Carrie, that is a great question. I can come to schools. If you just if you look on, like, if you just type my name on LinkedIn and just connect with me there, I'd be more than happy to talk about what this could look like in your school. Thank you. Thank you, Cynthia. That was intentional. We wanted to talk about like how we can move beyond just the talks. Barbara says, do you think white children will relate to the books where the characters color, or will they think it only happens to others? Barbara, I think that's a really good question. I I think even if they're not able to relate to what's happening to the characters of color, I would push back and ask for you to ask them what they think about what they see. And particularly for what's happening to people of color in the United States, I would ask your children to reflect on what they see in their own neighborhood. Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Charlotte. Yes, yes. Thank you, Barbara. That was a really good question. I was a little nervous about this read aloud, y'all. I didn't know how this was gonna go. I've never read a book on a Zoom before that wasn't in PDF.
Yes,
Thank you, Lauren.
it's more difficult than you would think, but you did awesome. We have just one more question. Hopefully you can answer it in 2 minutes, Daris. Any ideas of how to support parents who want to, quote, protect their children and keep them innocent, and are fearful about some of these topics?
Jane, that's a really good question. The first thing that I would do is I would direct them to some resources. We saw some on Riff, we saw some in the Padlet, where there are lists of social justice books for them to educate themselves. I think that's I think that's the first thing that you can do. Secondly, if you have, and I urge you to use your discernment with this, uh, with people with whom you have a relationship, ask them, do you believe that your kids don't know that these things exist? Ask them about, you know, protecting their kids and keeping them innocent. I mean, I always, I wonder where that comes from, because our kids live in a world where these issues happen whether we talk about them or not. And frankly, just because they're not talking about this with their kids doesn't mean other kids aren't having conversations with them about this on the playground, when they have lunch, when they're out and about and they're watching, and they're riding in the car with their parents and they're listening to a brief from NPR or the radio, or a parent says, "Oh, I just got this alert on my phone from CNN about this black man who was beat to death in Memphis." They see. And so I think the best thing to do is to provide people with resources to educate themselves. You don't have to educate them, Jane. And the second part would be to just have some dialogue about getting to the root of what they're concerned about. And I've just found, and this is more conjecture, but I've just found that some people don't want to have conversations about injustice because they're uncomfortable, right? They don't want to address those things, and because they're uncomfortable, they may think that their kids are uncomfortable too. But kids are brilliant, and they think about these things all the time.
I just, we'll have to close out, but I just wanted to share, I added something in the chat that we have in reference to what you were saying, Daris. We have something called the Trauma Informed Collection, and we partnered with the Imagination Press to put this together, and it's all books who are written by psychologists or other childhood experts on trauma. So these are great books to talk about those with students.
Thank you. Thank you all for being here. If you go onto LinkedIn and just type my name in, please shoot me a request. I would love to dialogue with you all. This is work that I care about very deeply, and the respect that I have for teachers is beyond any that I can even put into words. So I thank you all for your compliments, but I thank you for doing the work that you're doing. Being a teacher is the best job that you could ever do. Kids are the best. They deserve our best. And thank you all for attending.
Thank you. Have a good night, everyone.
Bye, y'all.
Thanks, Daris.